today, so we'll turn the recording on now. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm Joyce Tolliver, and I direct the program in Translation and Interpreting Studies. And we thought it might be helpful for people who are thinking of applying for our MA degree to know what it is like to actually review the application and on what basis do we make our decisions about who we admit and who we do not admit. We will introduce ourselves in a minute, but I wanted to let you know that the leader of today's program is our academic programs advisor, Dr. Melody Chun, and we have some faculty members with us here too today. So maybe Melody, could you introduce yourself, and then our faculty colleagues could also introduce themselves?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Melody. I'm the academic program advisor. And so today I will do the presentation and show, highlight some topics about the application. Like normally I receive some inquiries about the application. So I will focus mainly on those topics. So I hope you will find it very helpful for your application.
Okay. Alexandra, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Nice to join you here today. My name is Alexandra. I'm a lecturer at our program. And this semester, I'm teaching CAT tools, computer-assisted translation tools, and technical and other types of translations, so different types of those. And I really wish you a wonderful session today. I'm sure it will be helpful for you all. Thank you.
Thanks. Sophie, Sophie, could you introduce yourself, please?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie. I am in the interpreting side. So I'm an instructor for interpreting studies. And this semester, I am teaching. It's a special program that is, it's called, we train qualified interpreters for IP meetings here in the state of Illinois. So that's what I'm doing this semester. And I'm very, very happy that you're here, and I hope that you enjoy it and that you learn a lot and that you ask whatever you need to ask, and we hope to help you. Thank you very much.
Patricia, you're next on my Zoom screen.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patricia Phillips-Batoma, and I'm also a lecturer in the program. I teach courses in the area known as Translation for the Professions. I also teach a course in writing for translators, and I teach a course called Translation and Interpreting, a Reflective Practice, among other courses. Sometimes I teach theory and other things. I'm also a French to English translator, and I'm very happy to see so many people here. If you were here physically on the campus, you would find a very gray and foggy day. But we do have plenty of sunny days as well. So I just want to make sure everybody knew that. Welcome.
Thanks, Patricia. And Reynaldo, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Just got home 2 minutes before, but I still made it. I basically teach in the interpreting classes on the MA program. I used to say I was the interpreting part of the program, but now I have a companion in Sophie. And we also work together in this program that she mentioned, the training of qualified interpreters for the school districts in the state of Illinois. But I'm basically an interpreting person. I come from conference interpreting for several years, from last century, to be precise. And then I was a court interpreter in another state for some time, which is just a different setting for the basic thing, which is interpreting.
Thanks, everyone. That's most of our program. I'm happy to see my colleagues here. And Melody, why don't you just launch into your presentation? And I do want to invite anybody who has questions while Melody's presenting to just ask the questions. If you raise your hand, we may or may not see you because she's going to be screen sharing. You're also very welcome to put questions in the chat box, and I'll be looking at the chat box as questions arise too. So Melody, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to share my screen, and just like Joyce said, if you have any questions, just shout out, or maybe just raise your hand, or just ask a question from the chat box. Just a second. Okay, can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, so the topic for today is preparing for the best admissions application. As Joyce, our director, just mentioned, we just want to show what we are looking for in the potential applicants, prospective students. So I guess maybe this we can help you to make your application process easier. And also for some of the topics, I tend to use some of the inquiries from the previous prospective students. So I guess those may be the frequent asked questions. So hope that be very helpful. Okay, so for the application packet, so if you want to learn more about the application requirements, admission requirements, application documents, so you can just go to our homepage, translation@illinois.edu, and just check the admission information, and under that category, you can find application instructions. So all the required documents are listed there. So I'm just kind of copy the documents required there. So to sum up, for the application packet, our program will ask for 3 letters of recommendation. So I think this is very typical for most of the programs from the graduate college, 3 less than minimum. But of course, you can provide more if you have more recommenders there. Feel free to upload more. And the second one will be a resume or a CV. So we don't have a preference to resume or a CV. I guess for most undergraduate students, maybe a resume will works better. And we do have some applicants who come to our program with maybe a master's degree or even with a PhD degree. So in that case, maybe a CV can better demonstrate your academic performance. So which would be very helpful for your application as well. And the third one definitely be the transcripts. And the transcripts, normally we will encourage students to upload any post-secondary transcripts you have received. So we'll go to more details when once we come to transcripts. And the fourth one will be statements of purpose. So this one is a little bit confusing sometimes for students. I always remind them, once you start your online application, once you come to that page, there will be prompts coming up, and then it will be easier for you to know what are the requirements for the statements of purpose. But I will share some of the screenshots, and then you can have a better idea what to expect once you start your online application. And the last one is specifically for international students, like English proficiency test score. So we'll talk about what tests will be accepted and what are the minimum test score for admission. So basically, those are what we are going to talk about. And the last one will be additional. We'll talk about the admission interview, which is once you have met all the minimum requirements, we come to the admission interview. So for letters of recommendation, some of the frequent asked questions like who would be a good recommenders for my reference letters. So this one, I guess you can find a lot of information on the graduate college website as well. So normally we would recommend go to your previous professors, like if you have done your degree, undergrad degree or MA or a PhD, any degree, just go back to your professors. So any reference letters from your supervisors, from your professors, will work best, because we want to see your educational kind of potentials, your academic potentials in the future MA study. And other than that, you can like your supervisor or even your mentor in the workplace, they will work as well. So we just want to remind you, don't turn to your friends or your relatives or your family members to read some like very, very personal letters as your reference. So because it's for academic and a professional purpose. So that would be something want to remind remind the future applicants. And for the second one, what information to share with your recommenders? So I mean, for some new kind of graduates from undergraduate program or other graduate programs, so maybe it's easier to get back to your professors. They still have fresh memory about your performance in their class or something. Maybe when you reach out to them, just let them know which courses you have taken with them, which year, just like help them to bring back the memory. And maybe if you are, maybe you can also share your own resume to give them a better idea, like have an overall understanding or memory about your background. So so that would be something you need to keep in mind when you share your background with the, I mean, your information with your recommender. So just try to share those which are closely related to the program you're applying for. I mean, translation, interpreting studies. If you have any like translation or interpreting experience or anything you want your recommender to comment on, just feel free to share with your recommenders. So those will be our recommendations. And the third one, what to provide while completing your online application. So I will share some of the I will share a few screenshots, and then you can see what to provide when you complete the online application. So maybe I'll move this one away just a second. Okay, so once you started your online application, so like from the left column, you can see once you fill in the personal information, the program information, and move to the next steps once you come to references. So here you can see the recommendations like who can be your recommenders, and recommendation letters should specifically address your ability to succeed in your proposed academic program, and discuss any experience that may have prepared you to succeed in the program. So those can kind of some suggestions or tips for you to reach out to your recommenders. So once you come to this page, just click on Add Recommenders. And then you will see this page to provide the very detailed information about your recommender, their name, their organization, and their email. And especially for the email, if it's from a university or from a corporate, so you'd better use their kind of business email, professional email, rather than their personal email address. So this will be something I want to remind. And also at the bottom, you can have the option to waive the right to access the report, or not waive your right to access the report. So once you fill in the recommenders, detailed information, contact information, just click on Send to Recommender. So the system will generate an email to your recommenders, whatever email address you provided about your recommender. And then it also contains like links or detailed instruction about where and when to submit their reference letter. So that's about the letters of recommendation. So feel free to raise any questions you have about the reference letters. Rinaldo? You're muted.
Yes, I know. Sorry. You already mentioned that, but I just want to stress, because we have had those cases, make sure, I mean, people who have finished their undergraduate degrees a long time ago, and it happens sometimes. Of course, your professors may not remember you. You may be in a different place, have no contact with them, haven't had any contact with them for years and years. And we tend not to, I'm speaking from the faculty point of view, we tend sometimes not to remember who it was, who it is that is asking. So make sure you get it from an employer, a supervisor. Melody did mention that. I just want to overemphasize because sometimes people feel lost. They say, oh, I finished such a long time ago, my professors won't remember me. An employer is fine, supervisor, etc.
Yeah, thank you, Renato, for pointing that out. Yes, it's very common. We have like, especially some non-traditional student. So like they got their degree decades back. So it's sometimes even no way to track back their previous professors. So you can turn to your workplace, like your supervisor in your workplace. Their reference letter will suffice as well. So thank you for mentioning that, Renato.
And there's a great question in chat from Kevin. I'll just read it. He's saying, I already have a recommendation letter from a professor. Could I use it as one of them, or must I ask them again?
So I think, let me go back just for a second. Let me go back to there's a slide. I think there was a line specifically mentioned that one. The third one, if you have submitted an application to another program or term previously, you are able to import these recommendations to this application. But I'm not sure that whether it's from our system or from another system. So
yeah,
so maybe we need to double check.
Yeah, I think that means our system, because the way it works is that we will make a recommendation to the Graduate College of the University of Illinois about whether to admit you. And technically, it's the Graduate College who admits the students. So what that means is that if a student applies to, let's say, the Department of Spanish and Portuguese and to our program, they have the letter from Spanish and Portuguese, so they don't need to get it again.
Okay.
But I'm guessing that the situation could also arise that you asked a professor for a letter of recommendation to apply to some other university, right? And then you decided to apply to our program. Then you would definitely have to go back to the professor and ask for a new letter. You should not have a copy of the letter. Typically, it goes directly to the institution. Hope that helps. Kevin, is that what you're asking? Yeah, okay, good, thanks.
Just a comment. Some of you might remember we have received letters mentioning different universities and different programs that were clearly used. They don't look very nice in your application. And also, if you click that, you do not waive the right to see the letter, you may constrain the recommender. So I don't know if Joyce and Melody agree with me, but from the applicant's point of view, it's always better if you waive your right to see the letter, because that shows the recommender had total independence. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Yes.
Joyce, do we have more questions in the chat?
I'm not seeing any, but if anybody would like to raise another question, this is a good moment.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on, Melody.
Yeah, otherwise we move on to the next document required, the resume or CV. So for the resume, actually I would direct you to the Career Center at the UIUC, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So there's a lot of tips about how to prepare your resume, your CV. So I just want to some key points. So highlight your skills and experience. So if you are preparing a resume, try to make it very smooth and simple, and break into different sections, easier to follow. And also the other thing I want to mention is about convey your overall competence with attention to details. Like when you prepare your resume, so it's better to use some like, so this is very general about prepare your resume, not only for a program, I mean, to prepare your resume for application to graduate school. So try to use some phrase rather than use a complete sentence, not to use some pronouns like I, blah, 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 or he did something like that. So try to use some phrases or maybe, instead of sentences. And when you use a verb, use verb phrase. Be careful to make the verbs you chose consistent, intense, and also try to use a variety of verbs, not repeating the same verb all the time to make your resume looks better and more professional. And so after prepare your resume, so think about just look back to what you have achieved, try to highlight any experience or any education background, which is very relevant to the MA program, to the graduate study. And after your writing, remember to proofread yourself. So read your resume to make sure you have covered or include all your major points you want to cover, and make sure there's no grammatical mistakes. So it's a kind of way to show you're professional, right? You are sincere and ready for the program. And perfectly, you can have someone to maybe review your resume to provide some other suggestions for you to improve your resume. So here I want to share a sample resume, which is actually from the Career Center at UIUC. And I'm including the link at the bottom. If you're interested, you can go to that website, and there are more samples there for you to kind of learn from what to cover. This is a very simple and straightforward one. So the person broke that into 4 sections, like your education experience, activities, and skills. So you can see with the different bullets and highlighted some kind of experience. Pay attention to the verbs they used. Yeah, so I guess if you have time, just go there and go through the resume. So that might be very helpful when you come to prepare your own resume or even CV. Okay, yeah, I think that's a brief kind of coverage about the resume. So feel free to ask any question if you want to check about the resume or CV for graduate study application. So if not, we come to the third or the fourth one, the transcripts. So I did receive a lot of kind of inquiries about the transcript. So students always got confused, like, so for example, do I need to provide all the post-secondary transcripts? So the answer will be yes. If you have received any post-secondary transcript, other than your undergrad degree, so if you have done some like certificate or any other degree or have taken courses and earned some credits, so feel free to upload all the post-secondary transcripts. So that's the response to the first one. And the second one, should I submit my official transcripts for application? So for the application purpose, we do not need the official transcripts, because we know for some institutions, if students want to get the official transcript, you need to pay a fee to get that, right? So for application, the unofficial transcript will work. We just want to see how you were doing your GPA, other stuff for admission decision. But once you have been admitted into the program, so that's the time the graduate college will ask you to provide your credentials. It's the kind of last step to get you admitted into the university. So that's the time you need to provide your official transcripts. And there will be instructions about how to provide that. So it's not from you, it's directly from your institution to the graduate college. So once we come to that stage, I will send out like further instruction to help you to submit the official transcripts to graduate college. To get ready for registration for graduate study. So the third one, do I need to provide English translations for transcripts? So this is for international students. If your transcripts in non-English is a non-English one, so definitely you need to provide translations. But I want to remind you, some of the students, like it's about 4 questions. Some students have got their transcripts translated by some credential evaluation organizations like WES or ECE, WES like World Education Service, or educational credential evaluators. So those credential organizations. So the translation from those organizations are not accepted by the graduate college. The reason behind is when those organizations, when they do the translation, they always convert your original grade into in the US system, but the grad college don't want to have that. They just want to do the conversion themselves. So it's better to submit your original transcript in your original language and provide a translation. So the translation should be from, if your institution can provide an English translation of your transcript, that's awesome. But if not, you need to find like certified translator, a public translator, or maybe from the government, or maybe ATA certified translator can provide the certified translation for your transcripts. So that's that's what we want to mention here. Did I miss anything? So anything you any other questions about transcripts? Feel free to ask. Yeah, Renato, go ahead.
There I go again with my opinions about the translation of the certificates, because that's something I've done for decades in my life as an ATA certified translator and a sworn public translator in Brazil. In Spain, it's called traductor jurado. In Argentina, it's called traductor público. I would say if you live in a country that has this system, I think Germany has it too, right, Sophie? Traducteur assermenté in France, always use those people because those are regarded as a certified translation. If you do it in the United States, ideally find someone who is ATA certified, which is not like sworn translator in the other countries. And then that person has to make a statement and have that statement notarized. Okay, there are models of that statement normally in the Department of Homeland Security because it's used for immigration purpose. So a translation becomes a certified translation in the United States when it's accompanied by a statement by the translator saying that they are fluent in both languages, it's 3 or 4 sentences, and that you have translated that transcript that is attached to the best of my knowledge. That's kind of the wording that is expected. Then you sign it before a notary public. That is what makes it an official translation. And I'm saying this because I've done this dozens of times, hundreds of times, perhaps in my life. You know, both here, notarizing my signature, or in Brazil, for instance, as a sworn public translator, my name is on the list that is on the American consulate website. So I normally put that reference at the bottom. And I would ask Melody, this is basically for the graduate college, right? For the official phase. Because as we analyze it in the review, I've seen many transcripts in the original languages without a translation. And among us, we can make sense of most of them, depending on the language, of course. But
yeah, this is more, it's better for you to provide the translations while you're applying for the program, even though in our program is okay without translation because our faculty members, we have a wide range of language abilities, so we can make sense of the transcripts. But the graduate college will be the next step. They need to review your credentials to make sure all the like transcripts legitimate. So it's better to provide the certified translations for your non-English transcripts. Also, I want to mention here, like when you provide the transcripts. So I did receive some of the transcripts which has no title only kind of a screenshot of the courses you have taken, the grades you have received. It doesn't work that way, because it has to have a head to show the institution name, the program name, and also your name. So it's your transcript. You have to include your name, your institution name, all the information there. And it's better to include the credits hours in the transcripts as well. Okay. So if we don't have further questions for transcripts, I'm moving on to the next one. Statements of purpose. So here we have, we want to focus on the plural form. It's statements of purpose. So which means it's not one statement of purpose. So I will share a few screenshots afterwards before I have some brief introduction here. So what will be covered in the statement of purpose, and how do I provide bilingual statement of purpose, and what does the program look for in the statement of purpose? So maybe it's better when I show the screenshot and you can have a better idea. So basically, once you start the online application, once you come to this page, statement of purpose, you will see what I mean here, like 3 different types of statement of purpose. So briefly speaking, like it includes requirements from the graduate college and also requirements from our program specifically. And for the requirements from the graduate college, you need to provide academic statement here. What it is like 1,000 words. Please write a statement that answers the following questions. So you need to cover those 3 questions in your English statement of purpose. So this is for the graduate college. And then you move on to the second part, which is also for the graduate college. So personal statement, short answers. In this section, there will be 4 questions. So 2 are required, 2 are optional. So the first one, like, please describe any experience or challenges that may have shaped your intellectual and personal development. So for the questions, like short answer questions, like 250 words. And the second one is like provide insight into your potential to contribute to a community, blah, blah. So those 2 questions are kind of required. You need to respond to those 2 questions. And the following is 3 and 4. Questions 3 and 4 are optional. So feel free to add any, like the question number 4, if there's something that you would like to highlight that you have yet to discuss in other areas of the application. So please do so here. So this is kind of like additional place for you to provide further information about yourself. And those 2 kind of basically from the graduate college. So if you chose our program and move on to this page, statement of purpose, you come to this page. So program SE. So this is what we call the bilingual statement of purpose. So one is the English one for the graduate college, and also for us, because it will forward to us as well. So the second part will be the program essay. So you must write an additional short essay in the non-English language. So we know we are in translation, so you need to work with another language, right? So rather than the statement to the graduate college, and then the second part is the non-English the statement of purpose. Yeah. And here you will be required to write a short essay outlining what your professional goals are and explain how the MA in translation interpreting offered by the university would further those goals. So this will be specifically about us, about this program, how this program will help you to achieve your professional goal in the future, and what you are planning to do with your degree in the future once you complete the MA with us. Yeah, so, and this has to be written in a non-English language. So we would prefer you write that one rather than translate your English one. Yeah, to write because it's more specific about our degree, about the program. Okay, so any question about the statement of purpose?
Melody, I'm
No?
just going to comment briefly here that my experience is that many applicants seem not to take this essay very seriously, right? And just for example, many years ago, I once saw a statement of purpose in which the applicant explained that they were applying to the program because it would be a really good way to get out of their parents' house and live somewhere else. It's like, that's not the sort of thing that we're looking for. It is probably the part of the application that I look at most carefully after I've looked at the transcript to be sure that the student would be acceptable to the graduate college. It's extremely important. This is the way in which you first present yourself to us, the admissions committee. And this is your chance to show us that you know about our program, you've researched it, you've chosen it for a good reason, you have specific goals, you're equipped to meet those goals, and you're very serious about the program. So just, a little bit of emphasis, I think, on this part of the application process goes a long way.
Yeah. Thank you, Joyce. Yeah, and also I just there's another thing I want to mention is that you can just start right away with the application because there's a save for later button, which means you do not need to finish the application at one sitting. So you can come back and to revise, and once you're okay with all the documents you want to upload, you can click the submission button. And also one additional thing, I'm talking about this one, another thing I want to mention for the reference letter. So for that one, I always receive some questions like, do I need to wait for my recommenders to submit their letters before I can submit the application? So the answer is no, because it's kind of like working separately. So once you finish your own part of the application, upload all the statement of purpose, your transcripts, all the documents requirement, even though you can see like the reference letters are not in yet. So you can just go ahead to submit your application once you complete your own part, because the recommenders will send their letters from their end. So this will not be a problem for your submission of the application. And also sometimes maybe if you reach out to your recommenders and at the beginning, maybe they promised they would write the letters for you, but something came up, they cannot submit the reference letter. So in this case, you can go back to your application online and just go to the reference page and add a new recommender. So that works too, just a heads up there. So this one for the English proficiency test, as I mentioned at the beginning, so this is mainly for international students. And some of the frequent asked questions, like the first one, do I need to provide an English test report? So the English proficiency test is required for all international students who are seeking a degree at UIUC, except there are some exceptions, right? So of course, the domestic students, you do not need to provide the English proficiency test. And also some other students from other countries, there are approved countries with English as a primary language. You do not need to provide the test. So if you go to the graduate college webpage, click on admissions, international students, English proficiency. So you can see all the detailed requirements about English proficiency, like who needs to provide that. And for the exemptions, like, for example, if you have received a post-secondary degree in an English-speaking country within the last 5 years, you do not need to provide the English proficiency. And the other two exemptions, like if you have if you have completed more than 2 years of post-secondary study, even though it's not a degree, post-secondary study, or maybe a professional work in an English-speaking country, you can also waive the English proficiency test can also be waived. So this is the first question. And the second question, what English proficiency tests are accepted? Now, how to provide my English test report? What are the minimum requirements for the test scores? So for the following 3 questions, I'm going to share a table and we can go through address the questions all together. So for the English proficiency test, basically the graduate college will accept 3 types of tests. TOEFL, IBT, IELTS, it has to be academic exam, and also Duolingo. So Duolingo is a special one because I think it came up during the pandemic time. So I still working. So the credit card is still accepting Duolingo test score. So as long as you took the test from February 2020 all the way to August 2024 this year. So the test scores are still accepted all the way to August. That's for the Duolingo. And for TOEFL, IBD, or IELTS, so the full status admission, so like the minimum requirement is 103 for TOEFL. And for IELTS, the overall band score is 7.5. So those are the minimum requirement. So even though I listed the limited status like TOEFL 79 and IELTS 6.5, you don't want to come to this stage because this is only available for on-campus students. So on-campus students, and if we can tell, if you show excellence in other aspects, for example, from your transcripts, from your resume, or maybe your statement purpose, and even the following interview, we could tell you have the potential to do well in our MA degree. But your TOEFL or maybe your IELTS, excuse me, the score are not has not met the minimum requirement. So we may consider admission if your score is above the limited status, but you can only have receive a limited admission offer, which means you need to take extra like ESL courses once you're into the program. So this is only doable for on-campus students, not for online students. And for some of the ES courses, you need to pay extra fee for that, for sure. Okay, and for the English test score test, so you can go to their official websites to kind of book your test, and also when you book the test, you can set like the test score will be sent to the graduate college of the University of Illinois. So there should be a code number of the university. So you should check the graduate college before you sign up for the test, and make sure the test score will be directly sent from the testing center all the way to the graduate college. Sorry, Ronaldo, you have got a question?
Yes, Melody, I'm sorry to play the devil's
Yeah, no worries,
advocate.
go ahead. Thank you for help.
The devil's advocate. Did you copy this from the graduate college website? Because there's one thing I find strange, and I was involved with TOEFL for decades. The paper edition is not IBT, because IBT is internet-based test. And there is a paper edition that can be taken, but then it's not IBT. So I don't know how those things match. And the paper edition has a completely different grading system. The numbers will be different. Normally, the minimum acceptable for the paper edition is 500. So instead of 103, it would be 500. Something may have just recently changed. That's why I say I'm just playing the devil's advocate and try to ask a question that some students may bump into and not know what it is.
Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't pay much attention to, so I copied this table from the graduate college. So Joyce, would you mind to check just in case I copied the wrong one? I believe I copied from the graduate college website while I'm preparing.
I believe that is correct. Maybe something has changed. I'll check in the background and I'll let you know if there's any change.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you're right. Like the score range should be for IBT. If the paper version should be a different score range, right?
I just wanted to raise.
Yeah, but it said the TOEFL IBT paper edition, so I got confused myself. Like there might be some new test versions coming up,
unless it's something very new.
Okay, yeah, that's just with Joyce while we are keeping on, like with Joyce to check whether I got the wrong table or something. Yeah, just in case. Thank you. So that's about the English test. So any questions so far? English test score reports. Okay, so the last one, the last one I wanna, it's not in the application package, but it's one of the very important step or procedures for admission. So this is about admission interview. So if you check our website, when you come to the application instructions, you will see the admission interview. So which means once you submit your application, we reviewed all the documents and we can come to a conclusion like whether you have met all the minimum requirements from the graduate college from our program. So then we will decide if you have met the minimum requirement, basically I will reach out to schedule an interview roughly around the application deadline, maybe 1 week ahead of that, or maybe 1 week after that. So then we will conduct the admission interview. So the purpose of the interview, because we want to check about the language proficiency, because the bilingual statement of purpose can only partially show your written proficiency, and we also want to check your oral proficiency of the language you will working in the program. So the admission interview will be conducted via Zoom. So we cannot afford it's not doable like having in-person interview. So it's a virtual interview. So once we schedule an interview, I will share the Zoom link, and on the at the right time. So the interview will be conducted in via Zoom, and 2 of our faculty members will be in the interview. So one faculty member will ask you questions in English, and the other faculty members will ask you questions in your other language, the other language of your working language pair. So basically, we will kind of ask actual questions, wanting you to elaborate a little bit about your background, about your statement of purpose. So all the questions will be related with your background or your plan for the future, your understanding about the translation fields, things like that. And so the interview normally will last about like 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. So minimum 20 minutes. That's what we were aiming at. And you are also feel free to ask questions at the end of interview. So it's more like it's kind of way we interview the applicants, and also it's a way for you to know us, right? So feel free to ask any questions, and I'm sure everyone will be very happy to address any questions you will raise at the interview. And after the interview, so that's how it works. Like we will have the admission meeting, and then we will discuss and make the admission decisions. So roughly it would take about like 2 to 3 weeks. So after the interview, especially maybe more specifically after the application deadline, 2 to 3 weeks, you will hear from us about the admission results. Yeah, I believe that's what we want to cover today for the application packet and also the additional admission interview. So I hope I have covered most of the questions people may have when you are working on your application. The documents, how to prepare, what documents are required, and how to prepare the documents. So if you have further questions while you're working on your application, feel free to reach out, because everyone may have a different case, different situation, right?
Melody,
thank you
so much. There is a question in chat, and by the way, I'll take advantage to confirm that the scores that you put up regarding the TOEFL are correct. So apparently they're not grading differently, the paper version.
Yeah, so that should be different from the traditional paper edition. So I may need to do some research. What is the new test form?
Exactly. But I wanted to draw your attention to a very, very good question in chat from Annie, which is it allowed to study in the online program while living in another country?
That's a very good question. So actually, it's very common. We have a large online population. So our students actually are all over the world. So that's why when our faculty members kind of setting up the class meeting time, we have to consider the different time zones. So that's the advantage of flexibility of our program. So students can join our program from everywhere in the world, right? So anywhere. So if you are joining the program online, which can save you from like preparing all the immigration documents, go through all the procedures. So it's kind of like, and also at the same time, it's very engaging, lively online kind of learning environment. So I think that's very, yeah, a very great advantage of the online cohort. Looks like we have more questions.
Ella is asking if we will be sharing the recording. Definitely, we'll be sharing a link so you can review the recording afterwards.
Yeah, so for those who have registered for the event, there will be an autumn email sent out maybe tomorrow. So after the session today, I will upload the recording to our YouTube channel. So then you will receive the link and then should have access to the recording.
Are there other questions? Here's one. Melody, do you want to stop sharing the screen? Maybe then we
Oh
can.
yeah, sure. Just a
interact.
second.
Right. And in the meantime, I'll read the question. It's a fantastic one. Our classes from Jessica, thank you. Our classes taught in English or in the language we choose to study? Love this question. They are taught in English. And maybe some of my colleagues would like to say a little bit more about our multilingual approach, but very briefly, if you join our program and you're a student in one of our classes, the instruction will be in English. You will likely be surrounded by colleagues who are working with different language pairs, and we support quite a variety of different language pairs. But within the class, the work that you do, the assignments, the final papers, right, your focus within the class can be on your particular language pair. And maybe some of my colleagues could elaborate a little bit more on how they handle that multilingual aspect during class. Or not, or does that capture it well? Is there anything else to say?
Glad to weigh in here, Joyce, if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. One of the things, okay, so one of the ways I set up my classes is we basically do translation into English. But we also look at a lot of examples of translations and translation phenomena from other languages, and you can do that by producing back translations. So you can look at a lot of different phenomena of that are discussed in translation studies by doing back translation. So we do a lot of sort of first of all thinking about conventions. And when we think about the conventions of different discourse types, we're thinking about those conventions in English. However, just the notion of learning how to handle a discourse type in English, of course, helps you figure out how to handle it in the other direction if you're translating into your non-English language. And the other part of that, of course, is you can also look at a lot of translation phenomena in multilingual classes through technique of back translation, and students can, because we're multilingual, because so many students are bringing different languages to the classroom, it's an opportunity for everybody to learn more about how things work in other languages and to see the differences and the different translation phenomena that come up in different languages.
Interpreting works somewhat differently because we are working with oral spoken language, so back translation wouldn't work. We work in both directions in class, okay, into English and from English, because that's basically what the market requires all over the world nowadays. Even the UN and the European Commission, the two largest employers of interpreters nowadays, several languages, people work into both directions. I don't want to take a lot of time. So in many situations, when you are translating into English, your classmates are listening to your English translation from Spanish, from German, whatever language you're translating from into English, They can see the video, but they are hearing you, not the original. And then they translate your English back into their own different languages, Russian, German, Spanish, Chinese, whatever. And of course, I don't speak all of those. So what I recommend, I ask them to record their performance into the other language and have someone in the family, some friend, listen to it, if at all possible, someone who doesn't even speak English, and hear if that makes sense. In interpreting, we are not really converting words, not that we are in translation, but if it makes sense. So it's very good to have someone listen to your recording, someone who is a native speaker of that language, and see if that message makes sense or not. So we work all the time into both directions, and the exams are all recorded and go to language specialists among ourselves, our faculty colleagues. If we don't have, like Korean, if we don't have one, we have people who perform this job for the program, for Korean, for Japanese, for instance. So we do work in both languages all the time in class. And you learn to be tolerating and listen to languages you don't understand. And many times you listen into English what a video is saying in Chinese, which puts you in the place of your client who is listening to the interpretation. Okay, so that makes it very active. When the class shares the same language pair, I mean, it's not our case, but in programs in which the classes are divided by languages, students can never play the role of the client, the interpreter user. So I think that's a big advantage to the multilingual aspect of our program. I'm not earning a commission or anything. I'm just saying from the professional point of view, everyone can be in the place of the user of the interpreting. So I think that's very positive, because otherwise you don't realize what the problems are if you understand both languages. Okay, this is it.
Thank you, Rinaldo.
And
Alexandra?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, if I just may say a few words. Thank you, Jessica, so much for the question. And just to say that the teaching process is going on in English, but of course, during the classes where there is a lot of practice, for example, in my case, it's in commercial and technical practice of translation. I usually build my classes in the way that the students could benefit from both directions of translation from and into English. So I kind of arrange some tasks. So we could discuss just having an idea that everyone can also learn not only from us, but from everyone, because there could be different kind of issues in translation. So there would be different kind of translations heard, right, and discussed. And it is beneficial mostly. And as Rinaldo very rightly mentioned, that we have highly experienced specialists in different kinds of languages. And if we need some help just with some evaluation, for sure, we collaborate very well here. So I guess all the directions that are announced are work really in a rich way. Thank you.
Great. Other questions? It's not your last chance to ask questions, as Melody was saying before. As you consider applying to our program, or as you start to fill out the application form, if anything arises, just contact us. You can always find us. I'm going to put it in chat, but it's pretty predictable. Translation, right? Well, we do leave off interpreting. Translation at illinois.edu. It'll come to Melody and to me. So unless there's another question, I think I'll say thank you all so much. Enjoy the weekend, and we hope to hear from you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. Bye.
Oh, wait, one more question. I'm sorry, Jessica. How does the program support students in terms of career development, job placement, choosing online? Are there virtual career services, job placement, et cetera, et cetera? Melody, can you give a very quick answer to that one?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so for the career development or job placement, the support, I mean, so for our program, so like even now we're planning for like alumni showcase. So always we have a very close contact with our alumni and also the translation industry. So we have like we have been working closely with like what is that called? State Farm, like the insurance company on campus. So always try to find like internship opportunities, or maybe and maybe connect our students with the translation business. So for example, in the past we had the kind of field trip to translation companies in Chicago, some place nearby, and always we invite them come over or in person or even via I mean online to give some talks or presentations to introduce what is going on in the field to our current students. Yeah, those are the kind of support we have. And the other important one, I think, will be every year we will support our students to sponsor our students to join the ATA annual conference, which is a kind of top conference in the translation and interpreting field. And it's a great opportunity for you to build up your network in the field and to prepare for your future like job search, career development. And yeah, so I'll always like if we have students have certain questions, we try to connect them with our we have a alumni ambassador list. So someone who is working in a different fields in professions, in interpreting or any field or any language pair. So I try to connect current students with some of the alumni to get some advice on career, yeah, the job searching, all the stuff. Yeah, those are the things I can think of for now, Joyce.
Can I once more with my opinions? Also, during the course, during the program, at least for interpreting, I have recommended students to do interpreting jobs that I'm requested several times. There was one who did, I think, 4 different jobs into French and from French. Just as an example, just yesterday, I received an email that I intend to recommend the student when the person tells me which language she needs it and when the meeting is. Also, we have sometimes requests for interpreting on campus, right, Melody?
Yes,
That's
yes.
one we have
Yes.
for February for Spanish. So,
Thank you.
and those are chances for people to start.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, sometimes we receive inquiries just from our university communities. So always we try to refer our students to those translation or interpreting assignments.
You're welcome. Again, yeah, thanks
You're
everyone.
welcome.
Here in Illinois, the weekend has officially just started. So have a good weekend. We'll be very happy to answer any questions that might arise as you think about joining our program. Stay in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.